Good evening, horror movie fans. Welcome back to Tay and J's Horror Slays. We are so excited for this one. We've been working really hard on this. I'm sorry. I know you guys missed us, but we are back and better than ever. So, today we are actually going to discuss the hype and the up and down quality of Saw X and Deliverance. So, with that being said, grab your blankets, grab your drinks, and let's go.
Let's go. Well, the movies that we are doing, like she said, is going to be The Deliverance and Saw X. We already had a discussion pertaining to Saw X, and you know how we felt about that movie. But this conversation is more so towards the hype behind a lot of movies and how that aspect of it can really ruin a movie. And we picked those two movies because we felt like both movies fell on opposite sides of that hype. We felt like both movies had a bunch of hype coming out, and Saw X did better with dealing with the hype, and The Deliverance fell short. So, with that, I want to know what your opinion is on how Saw X first did with the hype of a new Saw coming out.
The first things first I want to say is that Saw X, like we said before, I was not hype about it. I expected it to be horrible. I mean, the trailer was pretty cool, but it was like it wasn't super great. So I expected the worst from it. But watching it, I felt like the writers took a page out of the first Saw, where they actually gave us a real legitimate storyline. Actually, on upon rewatching it, I realized the beginning is actually not that long. I don't know what I was getting myself into the first time I watched it, but I felt like it was longer than it should have been, even though I didn't have an issue with it. But it actually really wasn't that long. But there was a sense of hope. The beginning of the movie was so epic because, that's how a movie is supposed to start. Giving the vital information and setting up John's inevitable character development. Even down to the point of making us feel bad for him because we really forget he's low key a serial killer. Because I'm going to say low key, we just all try to deny that he isn't, but he is. Um, you know, and he's just found out he's dying. There's a doctor, like they're always do. They're trying to convince him to embrace death in the most cringiest way. You know what I mean? So it sets you up for that feeling of, oh my gosh, no, save him. It kind of threw that good guy, bad thing on its ugly head, like how Don't Breathe did, but in a better way for me. But there's more I had to explain about that, but I just wanted to know what you thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the beginning is definitely not uh, that long for getting into the story because they gotta build the story. They gotta make you understand why he's about to do what he's going to do to these people. And I agree. I totally feel like they finally went back to the root of Saw when they made this movie. Like the traps weren't these like super complex. Like I mean, they were, but I'm saying like some of the later films, they start doing some crazy traps, and it's just like, okay, I get it, but like you're trying to make it as wow factor as you possibly can, but I feel like the traps in this one were just so simple. Like they were intricate, but in a simple way. Like the one chick had to handcuff herself she had to handcuff herself, and then she got um pulled up into the air where an X-ray machine was going to pretty much just be, or was it an X-ray machine? Something of that nature. I know it was something of that nature, but it was like burning her type of thing. It
Yeah.
was just like something as simple as that, like, and then and the first person he grabbed, um I think was the taxi driver dude. It was super simple. He literally just put bombs on his hand and made him have to cut it out. Like that was like so simple, but it was so well thought out to me, you know?
For sure. That is exactly how I felt about that. On the other side of the spectrum, I didn't necessarily hate the Deliverance, but it was kind of, I don't know. It was almost like, if I'm not if I should have done the research on this, but if they actually sat back and said that they got inspiration from The Exorcist, I would have believed them, honestly, because it gave The Exorcist vibes. But the only problem is The Exorcist came out like 65,000 years ago. Excuse me. There's way more seriously, there's way more things that are frightening to us in horror movies than the things that I saw in the Deliverance. It felt very fast paced. It was almost like, wow. I mean, I like that it kind of got straight to the point, but it was kind of like, oh, possession, possession, possession. Oh, all this craziness. Oh my gosh, no, look. Oh, now CPS. And it was just like, wait a minute, Jesus. Like, it was like, having a really, it was like watching a porn that happened so fast. And I was like, wait a minute. I didn't even get to enjoy it. I don't even know what happened. Like, so that's kind of how I feel like the Deliverance delivered itself to you. And, I mean, honestly, not to be rude to what they say the story is based off of. But movie wise, I was actually more interested in Glenn Close's character probably than anything else in the entire movie. And if that doesn't say a lot about a horror movie, I don't know what does.
Right. Wait, what character did you say again? I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
Glenn Close, the mom.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, I just felt like it was like the first thing I want to say is it was better the second time I watched it. Well, I will say that my initial thought was like, this is stupid. No, like you said, no disrespect to the people who actually went through, but I was like, this is stupid. But the second time I watched it, it was better, but not by much. I feel like the writing was good. I actually feel like the story itself is good. It's just I kind of feel the same way you felt, where it was kind of rushed a little bit, where it's like you're going through some of the aspects of these people's lives way too fast, where it's like, okay, can we focus in a little bit on some of these things? Like now, because it's like, okay, 1 minute we're here, now we're all the way on this side. And it's like, okay, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people you're trying to show, a lot of people you're trying to involve in this story, but it's like, this is about a possession of a child. And,
Mm.
I need to understand, like, granted, like the grandmother and the mother's relationship being as splintered as it was, I felt was good, and I felt like there could have
Right.
been a little bit more there.
Exactly.
Um, but it felt like, okay, they would have these little debates between each other, and then a little bit later they're loving each other again, which is perfectly fine. That's a mother-daughter relationship, but it's like, okay, are you going to go a little bit? I mean, and they end up saying stuff later, but it's like, are you going to go a little bit into why their relationship is so like splintered like that? I mean, I know that, okay, we know that a man came and did stuff to her when she was younger. And her
Hmm.
mom, I'm guessing her mom, she thinks her mom knew about it, or maybe her mom was on drugs and didn't know about it, but she feels like it's her fault. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we didn't get a real detailed explanation on why she blames her mother so much, and I feel like that was needed a little bit for why, because it it also adds on the way she mothers. as well, you know?
Exactly. That's one thing I will though give the movie, especially for the fact that with her, losing custody of the kids and all that stuff, and then blah blah getting back, all that good stuff. I just felt like that was important because in movies, like even with Get Out, I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna explain that shit? I just want to know how you're gonna explain this whole entire white family's estate burned to the ground, evidence and all, with their blood and DNA on your hands. I just want to know how you're going to explain that. You and your other black ass friend. Like,
People right.
so, you know, like, and us being black, it was like, yeah, no, dude, I'm like, "Hey, this is great. And, we all cheer in theaters, but, those were the unanswered questions that we needed to be answered. So I did like that there was that little aspect of it as well. But I'm going to go there and I'm going to say it again. I do not care. I just want to know that that the demon really said, I can smell your nappy pussy. I just want to know if it really said that. Like,
Oh my
I feel
God.
like I'll be happy if I get confirmation that that was actually said. Because if not, who the hell put that line in there?
Right. I mean, I mean, if you watch enough exorcist type or exorcism movies, they always had like the demons always say some off the wall. Like even in the first Exorcist, you know, the the little girl was like she said some off the wall stuff um like she was they were asking where's the little girl or whatever, and she was and uh the demon in her was like she's getting raped in hell or something like that. You know, like it's always some extra wild stuff
Yeah,
that
but see,
the
I can see
demons
that
say.
though. I can see that for some reason, because it's traumatizing. And it's like, yeah, sexual things. Your daughter's being passed around and, whatever. I mean, it's still a little off the wall, but I can smell your nappy. I can smell. Like, listen to what I'm saying. I can smell your nap. First of all, how do you smell naps? We're going to start there. But I can smell your nappy pussy. It's crazy. That is wild.
I
Who
mean, when you
and the
put a
fact
hot
that they
comb
went
to
over
some
that
naps,
line
man, you
five
can't smell it.
times, huh?
I said, I mean, if you put if you put a hot comb to a nap, you can definitely smell the.
That's the hair. That you know what? I don't not today. Like not today. I'm just saying, whoever put that in is diabolical. Low key, I feel like whoever put it in is racist. And y'all wild for letting that shit slide past the writing room, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, but like I said, since I've watched so many exorcism movies, saying like off the wall shit, because I mean that was just the one that I could. I mean, and I don't even, and that's probably not even word for word what was said from the first exorcism. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it, but in every single exorcism movie I've ever seen, there has always been like some off the wall thing that the demon said. And like you said, it's supposed to like traumatize you. It's supposed to get you off your game. Like, because when you're doing an exorcism, you're supposed to stay focused. You're supposed to, keep your faith or whatever. And it's to jar you and like kind of like throw you off a little bit. And so, like, I didn't look at it like that just because I just like, man, I've heard some crazy stuff from exorcism movies, and that was just their depiction of it in this movie.
Wait. Yeah. Sorry. Say that last line one more time. I'm sorry.
The like that was their depiction of some off the the demon saying something off the wall.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought that's what you said, but it sounds like you said something else too. So I was like, "Mm." But now going back to Saw X, I think the one of the difference that I felt is a lot of these characters in the Deliverance and Saw X was there was a lot more spatial awareness in Saw X, I believe, because um the first spatial awareness was, I mean, this is just personally for him. once John recognizes that, remember the nurse was trying to steal something important from the dying patient, he immediately, like, it immediately triggers the Punisher in him, so to speak. Like, he just, I mean, the how fast his brain went to, you know what, I'm going to trap you, was just insane. Because what we have to understand about John is that even though he despises murderers, even though he is one, um, but he also takes issue with the fact that others are, selfish with their lives, and which brings me to my other point that I was thinking about rewatching. That um, the thing is that even though that is true, what else would a human do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have no clue when our expiration date is, therefore we act accordingly. Even with Amanda, I mean, she's correct. No one is really rehabilitated. Most people will become traumatized and react as such after such a traumatic event. I mean, honestly, if he wanted to change the world, he was better off becoming a counselor. I mean, I don't like, you know. So it's like I get his spatial awareness for things like that, but at the same time, he kind of like he takes his level of I'm going to teach you a lesson to the extreme because now that person's dead. Like, you know what I mean? So it's I like how he views things like that, but at the same time, like with the deliverance, like there was a lot of things and it took them a long time before it was like, okay, this is actually supernatural. I feel like it wasn't happening fast enough for me. That was the part I needed to happen fast enough. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people have to believe in the supernatural, but when people's bodies can contort in certain ways that are not humanly possible, um, or like I said before, if a person is speaking Latin, which is a dead language, let alone a fucking child, you know, at that point we have to believe it's supernatural. Like people will literally watch their head spin in a 360, speak another language, bring up the fact that your mom used to like sunflowers and your mom been dead since you were 2 years old and you don't even know that. The only reason why you know that's because your grandma told you that. And it's like, what point do you just put aside this is an issue or this is uh a mental disorder or this is a physical disorder? Because I'm not saying doctors of all calibers don't see some crazy shit, but I mean, where do you draw the line? So that's what I mean. Their um lack of spatial awareness was astonishing. Like John, he, I mean, when who was it? I think when the dude was sitting in the chair, I don't even know how you pronounce that man's name. I want to say it's oh my gosh. It's something like I don't even know if that's his real name, but it was like Picosis or something like that. But when he started coughing and acting like he just had surgery, the way John started looking around like, hold up. Like he was very skeptical. Like I can imagine his skepticism. He was still optimistic, however, which again the movie was so perfect encapsulating you in the thought that he might actually be healed, even though we already knew the inevitable truth. But again, he had a lot of spatial awareness up until up until he finally went back to the facility. So that's what good takeaways for me that movies like The Deliverance and other movies that we've seen really, really lack.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree on his like he just pays attention to so much um when he's going into a situation like this is why like even in all the older movies like he's able to find these people, know what their vice is, all of this stuff. Like he really pays attention to the minuscule things that you do on a daily basis so that he can use it against you, and it's crazy. But I did like something that I do like about this movie Saw X was like there was three really big things that I really enjoyed about the movie. And one of the things was once he no one really paid attention. I mean, I don't know if people really paid attention, but once he thought he was going to be healed, he put away his serial killer tendencies and the feeling of wanting to do that stuff. Like
Oh my gosh,
he
yes.
went to yeah, he went back to the drawing board on trying to do his architect stuff. Like he was finally like going to try to live again. You know, for so long he was like only looking towards death. So he didn't think that there was a possibility of continuing his career, but he went right back to like drawings, buildings, and actually thinking there's a possibility of living, which I really really enjoyed. Um, also really enjoyed. I'm sorry, but Amanda was phenomenal in this entire movie to the point where if in the next one, I don't know if they're really planning on doing it. I've seen, posters and people saying that they're making another one, but she did so good in this one that I would be okay with him, let's just say him passing away in the movie and her being the next Jigsaw, because the thing, like, she was saying things that I was like, damn, that's something that John would have said to them. Like, she's trying to give you every possible way to get out of this situation alive, and y'all are just not listening. The same thing that he does. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Um, and this is the third thing, and it also has to do with Amanda. I like the fact that they showed her, like, the old her a little bit, and I don't mean that as far as I'm not saying as far as the crazy part that we remember in, like, what was it, two and three or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
That was
about
yeah, it was more so 3 than anything, because that's when she was like, yeah, that's when she was losing her shit at that point.
exactly. I'm more so talking about movie one, where she was the drug addict thing, and when she seen the one girl who was addicted to drugs, and that's why she did what she did. She kind of, not really, but in a way, kind of took her under her wing and really wanted her to survive, because she's like, I have been there and I know what it's like, where that drug is everything to you and you will do anything and fuck over anybody to get it.
Mhm.
And I just love how she just really wanted the best for her, and it hurt her when the chick, the main shorty that they were trying to get, the doctor, like, when she
Yeah.
killed her, like, that really hurt her, like, because she just felt like there was a possible potential for this girl to do better for herself, and it was taken away from her. I just love those little small details that they put for Saw X, that I like. It was like, it was amazing.
For sure. So what would your flip side to that be for the Deliverance? I mean, did you feel that I guess I would say did you feel that there was a lot of, character growth and, anybody that really shined out of anybody else in the movie?
Yeah. To be honest, mm, the mom, I get, like, the mom was probably the best character. Um, of everybody. To be honest, I mean, the little boy did his thing too. Don't get me wrong, the little boy definitely did his thing. Um, but the mom was she. I mean, and rightfully so, because of the way they wrote it. Like, she was the main focus of the entire movie. Um, and she had the most growth out of everybody. Rightfully so. Like, she was dealing with her own problems of, drinking, and her anger and resentment towards her mother, and a bunch of other things. And it took the whole movie, of seeing, like, literally almost losing her kids, both uh governmentally, like, like, through CPS, and also like in like death, like she almost lost them both ways. So it was like, you know, she and she really needed to um you know bring her, like she had to, in order for her, because she had kind of like given up on the thought of God and being protected and all of that stuff. So she had to completely flip her ideals in order to save her child. And I feel like that was very important to the story. Um, but besides her, I, I mean, the mother died, so no. The I'm just saying, like yeah, the
Sorry.
grandmother, like she died, so no. Um, which I don't know how much growth she would have needed, because I mean she had already given herself up to the Lord, and she was the one constantly telling her, her daughter, like, um God saved me, he can save you too. Like she was the one that continued to say that. So I don't know how much more growth she needed in the movie anyway, but she died. The what is the pastor lady who wanted to help, like she died. Um, the kids survived, but they're kids, so I mean, how much grace you really expect out of them?
Right.
Um, maybe the CPS worker, but like Monique's character, I mean, I guess if you want to say that she grew a little bit and allowed her to be like, okay, like you what you told me was the truth. Your kids were actually going through something. I'm gonna close your thing. Your, what is it called?
Case.
Your case. Yeah, I'm gonna close your case. That way that she was able to move back to Philly. Um, okay, if you want to say that, I can go there. But besides that, the only person that grew was the mom. But again, rightfully so.
Right. Right. You know what? Excuse me. And I will say that too. And that's probably another, I guess, I won't say issue, but for lack of a better phrase, issue that I have, because there wasn't like, there were so many, to me, so many layers to Saw X that I didn't really see in the Deliverance. The growth of the mom, yes. And I can say that personally as a mom who has had so many things happen. I mean, I've had all types of traumas, one addiction I got clean from, one I am still going through being clean from. That's just, as a mom, it is hell being a mom, especially, if you have things that you're going through on your own. You got your kids stuff, you got your stuff. And if you're a single mom, it's harder. It's a lot. So that's one thing I like about certain horror movies, is the portrayal of what it's like to be like a mom, parent, period. But I'm saying in this case, a mom. You know what I mean? Like all the things that you do go through and the things that you do have to process and things like that. I mean, I seen something years ago on Facebook that said nothing prepares you. No, not that one. It said, raising your child, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically raising your child while still healing yourself is a different type of strength, and it really is. So, that is something I will forever respect about that movie and about that woman's journey, who the real life woman. I will respect that journey no matter what, because it's a lot. It really is. But again, and I'm not trying to shut all over. I just had more to say about Saw X, but um, so Henry, the guy who he met in the cancer group, um him meeting him, lying to him, giving him false hope, and making him spend that type of money is really where I believe Jigsaw was becoming formed in the womb. I'm not saying that he wasn't that person, but I mean, like, that thing festered and it just became a bigger um it became a bigger part of him at that point. Like most humans, like once we're backed into a corner, we become the very monsters we're trying to protect ourselves from. It's kind of like our fight or flight response is kicking a high gear. So, and then to add the insult to injury, that fake ass doctor, I do not remember that woman's name, despite my reservation. She did a great job, even convincing me she was able to cure him. Like, completely forgetting this is a prequel and he definitely still has cancer. And he's dead. Like, so, but those like little small moments that they had, when the men stopped them when they first pulled in, it scared shit out of me, John was confused as well, but again, I like that they did that though, because it was to confirm the security and make them believe, like the government's trying to shut us down, which is believable because our government will shut anything down that is not a pharmaceutical and or what they cannot tax. So, you know what I mean?
True,
I
true.
appreciated that for sure. Like all those little things that kept making you like, no, we are a safe haven. It's like, nah, especially like when she was like, hey John, all horror movies make you weary of anybody that smiles too much, even before Smile came out. But and then I love the most like the wearing white to signify the pure and safe. The safety will always make me laugh because it's always the villains wearing white. Like your villains in any horror movies are always wearing or thriller, they're always wearing white, and I think it's hilarious because we're taught that the color black makes you look like a badass or makes you like dark and gloomy, which in most cases is the polar opposite. I mean, even just going back to my African American history class, like taking it back to slavery days, like we were always taught like if you see a crow, be scared of it. But if you see a white dove, like, oh my gosh, it's the most amazing thing ever. It's really rooted in racism, but I just find it funny that, you know, like we had all this security feeling and then here's this woman in all white and we're like, oh, she must be super pure. Meanwhile, she is the literal devil. Okay.
Facts.
This woman was
She
willing
was
to
the
kill a
worst.
child, is all I'm saying.
With no remorse either. She didn't give a shit.
At all. I mean, her boyfriend still ain't shit either. At least he tried to have like a little bit of remorse.
Yeah, he got over it real quick though. Like
He
he
did
got
because
what
he
he
wanted to get
deserved.
that. He wanted to get that bread and leave.
Facts. Hey man, the love of money is the root of all evil. I'm just saying, and that's exactly what it
Some facts.
was.
My bad. I was drinking
Like
this. I was drinking my water.
you good. I realized that there was a pause, so I just continued to talk until you was ready again.
No, but for real. But I mean, before I go into any more of that, I wanted to know how you felt about that as well, like what I was saying.
Um, yeah, I definitely agree that they always do try to do that with dead characters, have them in all white, or if they don't have on all white, they're in an all white room or an all white. It's all white something usually, and it's just like
Hmm.
okay, like we get it, you know. But I mean, but it's funny because those are the little small things that they do to like try um to avert your gaze from who these people really are, which and it works for a lot of people. It works. I mean, shit, shoot. Sometimes it works for me. Like you said, there was a point in time that I was convinced. Too. I was like, dang, maybe she is going to be able to, like maybe she will be able to healing type shit. It's like, nah, obviously not. Like, what am I thinking?
Fake.
Real quick though, like real fast. Like to the point where she was even like, what? She at the end, she's like, my father can really do it. Like, we'll get him to come here. He'll actually do that. Yeah, right. Sure, he will. Even
No,
if he
for real.
actually can, even if he actually can, why would I believe any word that comes out your mouth at this point?
Literally. Literally. And oh, that's what I was gonna say. It's crazy to I'm just gonna throw this all in one small little paragraph. Because you said something earlier that I was thinking about both times watching the movie, but his bond with Carlos, the little boy, it really pulled out our heartstrings. Like that little innocent baby and him made a true connection, and it was just so cute because he gave John something to believe in, even with a skepticism regarding the surgery. Because he's a kid, he's sweet, he's innocent, whatever. Um, So that was the beginning of what I was about to say too, like where John started to kind of come around a little bit. And then when he was having the surgery, quote unquote, I wasn't too thrown off by them turning the monitor when he was looking at it, because they do that to me when I found out I was having twins. um but I'm thinking also, of course, well, for me, they were trying to make sure they were seeing two babies before they showed it to me. But you know you wouldn't want your patient watching their surgery and fear them passing out, vomiting, panicking, etc. So, but knowing the truth makes it more of a punch in the gut. Like John was like what you were saying earlier, is why I got to this point. John was ready to stop killing. He was going to be rehabilitated from his killer lifestyle,
Facts.
and they in fact did more harm than good, because they basically did what Joseph did to John Wick. They took away his only means of living, and that, my friends, is the cost of life. What becomes ultimately your 13th reason why. That was his 13th reason why. It was over him after that. Like,
That is nothing but facts. Like both people wanted to go on with their lives and be happy and just live life, like both of them did. And you just crushed every dream, every hope that they had left for this world. And it's just like, oh man, that's why it's like, I mean, granted, obviously he still had a little bit of faith, I guess, in humanity, because he gave the little boy the money, like you said, like their connection was amazing. Like he gave him whatever, which is funny. I mean, granted, obviously we know like he he still, because they lied to him, he still got the cancer. So it's like he's like, what the hell am I going to do with the money anyway? But he gives it to the little boy and everything, and I'm just like, I, I'm like that's what's up, man. That made me feel good, man. That made me feel good.
yeah, because I almost cried again when I was rewatching it, and little boy was sacrificing himself, and I'm like, no, please don't. Like,
That's what I'm
but
saying. Because I was like, bro, like he told you not to pull it. He said stop, and he just kept trying to pull it. I'm just like, man, it made me cry. Man. It did. It did. It made me
it
tear up. I
really.
didn't cry, but it teared up. Like it definitely welled up in my eyes. It didn't fall. It didn't fall.
I am done with you, man.
I'm just saying, man. It
You
didn't
said it
fall,
was
but it
there,
got
but it
close.
didn't like necessarily.
Listen, look, it was the closest I've ever come to crying without crying. I'll say that for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, I definitely understand that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many different, for me, moving parts that made Saw X worth watching. That's my point. Um, there were so many things that made it more watchable. That made it more important. Like even when John first returned to the facility. Having that hammered home punch in the gut, realize, because I'm thinking like maybe they were robbed, trashed by the government, whatever. No, they got out of there. But more importantly,
Real
why the
quick,
fuck didn't
too.
they delete? Huh?
I said real quick and in a hurry, too.
Yeah, but I'm like, more importantly, why the fuck didn't they delete everything and make it seem like they were murder or something? Like, and more importantly, why the fuck didn't they make a decision in his head to further fabricate said lies? I mean, talk about amateur. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. That's
They
what
could
I'm
at least did
saying. Like,
that. They took his blood. Why the fuck didn't you cut his head?
especially because she's an actual doctor. You could have done that. Like, like
Like,
you're an
dumbest bitch
actual
ever.
doctor. And I'm telling you, but that, yes, like you said, like I want to reiterate what you said, like the freaking layers to that movie. Like that, I think that's what made Saw X surpass the hype that it was given, and like because there was layers to the movie where the deliverance, it was linear, it was very straightforward. You knew what was going to happen, you knew how it was going to happen. It was the same old exorcist type movie, it's straightforward. Granted, which there's nothing wrong with that. You need some of those movies sometimes, but it just was like with the hype that came with it is where
Yeah.
it drops the, because like I said, it's
Cause
not a
y'all was
bad
doing
movie.
too
It's
much.
just
Y'all was
exactly.
doing way too much. Y'all was literally. talking about y'all were terrified, y'all were running out the theater. I'm like, from what? Was there a ghost in the theater with you?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, because that's what made me. I was like, oh, like I got excited. Like, as much as I had seen on Twitter with them, like, oh, the Deliverance is so scary. I seen it on Facebook. The Deliverance is so scary. Da, da, da. I'm like, really? I'm like that. All right, they got me excited a little bit. I was like, all right, let me check it out. Like, you know. Well, I mean, I still had a little bit reservations because I've had too many movies where that same hype was given to a movie. I watched it, and that's why we're talking about it because I've had so many movies that had get like people gave it so much hype, and then when I watched it, it was just like, okay, I mean, it was good, you know. Hereditary. I'm just saying, like, so much hype behind it. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. It's really good. It's not just good; it's really good. But y'all was saying it was like phenomenal, like it was the movie of the year and stuff. I was just like, it was
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, like horror wise, I mean, I wouldn't say all that storyline wise. Oh yeah, that shit was crazy. Like,
Yeah,
and I'm not even talking about the woman she met with and found out she was part of the cult. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the same fucking Chris Angel shit we've seen before. That's not the part that I cared about. But everything else surrounding that, basically Charlie's inevitable death, regardless, fucking the way that it affected everybody in the family, like that was where it was important to me.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
that was, and the only thing that I think, the two things I think were actually kind of frightening was, the mom being randomly there and it not making all that noise. So it's just like she just looks and she's standing there. I'm like, oh, I know you fucking see what I see. You know, and then the part where she was on the ceiling because it was like, wait, hey, wait a minute. I know you seen that shit that I just saw. Like, and
Exactly.
that's how jump scares are supposed to be. So yeah, like again, that's how I feel about the Deliverance too. Storyline, yeah. Okay, I'll give it to y'all. It makes sense. Storyline, it's, pretty deep. And I like that. Um, Fearing wise, no, I didn't fear anything about that. Like I said, I could have watched that in the middle of Salem during Halloween while there's a freaking seance going on. I'm more scared of the seance than I am this fucking movie.
Right. Exactly.
wait, wait,
Exactly.
really quickly, let me say this also. One last thing. More importantly, if you're going to do something like that and try to make it as frightening as possible, especially if you're saying this is legitimately based off a scary movie, then I'm supposed to, I mean, a scary situation actually happened, then I want to feel the actual fear this person went through. I mean, as fucked up as that's probably going to sound, I don't mean it in a bad way, but if I'm going to be terrified by something that actually happened, like, it's just like watching a documentary. Like, you know, and not like the shows like like Dahmer, but like watching documentaries of that. Watching documentaries like Abducted in Plain Sight, the Ed Gainey tape. Shit, I want to be disturbed if I see some shit like that. I don't want to be like, okay, like when I'm supposed to be paying homage to something that somebody really went through, and I think that's kind of where they fucked that up too. And I'm just gonna be perfectly honest.
Right. I totally, totally agree. But with that, would like because I re-listened to our episode we did on Saw X, and I want to know what your ranking is going to be now that you rewatched it. I mean, and obviously we're going to give a ranking for Deliverance also, but I want to know, has your opinion on Saw X changed on the number you give it?
Um, no, I'm still gonna give it. Well, I don't even remember what it was to be honest, but I would give it 10 out of 10. I still think it was
That is
perfect.
that is
Well,
exactly what you gave it last time.
yeah, well, except for the whole, with the except. Okay, I do remember that. Except for the exception of him not saying game over, which I was like, all right, fam, that pissed me off. But other than that, yeah,
I
it's
was about
still
to say,
gonna be a
and
10 out of 10.
listen, I was going to give it the same answer that I gave it before, 9.5. And like I said, the only reason the point five is there is because of what you just said. I needed that. I did. I'm sorry. I needed that game over, and they didn't give it to me.
You
So
was childish.
9.5 out of 10. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It really does bother me because they it was like a lob, like somebody threw a little underhand pass to the running back and he fumbled it. Like y- y'all set it up perfectly for that just to not do it. Like that bothered me. I'm sorry, and it's going to continue to
Nah, I
bother me
feel
every
you.
time I
It
watch it.
bothered me. It didn't bother me much as it bothered you, but it did. I mean, enough to like take my rating away. But I understand. Also, real quick too, I want to say that too. When I was rewatching Saw X, Tobin Bell's facial expressions in that movie was insane. Like he like didn't even have to say much. His face said it all. Like he has very good facial expressions.
No, nothing but facts. Like there are at least four different times in that movie where his face tells it all. And if the people who are in the situation just listen to him, y'all would know how to survive. But yeah,
Yeah, like he told your boy she was gonna burn you. He meant that literally.
literally. And guess what? It happened exactly how he said. Like, I'm sorry. Like, oh man, so good, so good. But what's your rating for Deliverance? What you give it out of 10?
um, I mean, I would probably give it like give a 4, I guess, on a scary scale, but like maybe like a 6 or 6.5 on the stories aspect.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was gonna give it a. I'm gonna say because I'm gonna just put everything in together, like the movie in its entirety. I would give it a 5. It's solid. It's average. It's right down the middle. It's not super scary or anything, but it has a very good story. Like there are some things that they probably could have done better to make it much better. But yeah, a 5 out of 10, which is solid. Like it's not horrible. Anything under 5, man, you got to be rethinking being a director, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
As
there
far as
is
I'm concerned.
some. I'm not gonna lie, there is some that I feel like are under 4,
Oh yeah,
and
we
just
we've done some of
or or
them.
sorry, under 5 or whatever, and I just feel like don't fucking do that again. Like, I mean, I don't know, like I just hopefully at some point, and I'm just gonna speak it into existence. Hopefully, you motherfuckers start paying attention to our podcast. I mean, directors and writers and stuff like that. Because I'm not saying that we're like professionals, but I'm just saying from a fan aspect, any fan aspect you want to listen to somewhat, even if you don't agree. I'm not saying change your movies or your current movies around, but I'm just saying like start putting effort into that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I took notes or like when, especially like, cause we could tell even on our podcast, like you might be like, okay, we were just like, we were, we were stressing for time, so we did the best. And it wasn't probably the best episode, but like when we've actually sat down and took notes, it's so much and more in depth, and it sounds so much better. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and we're saying that from our own experience. So I'd say people to start doing that shit, like for real. Like start re-listening, rewatching, or reading a script and being like, does that even sound right? Especially when it comes to movies with teenagers. For the love of God, they do not all sound like airheads. I need y'all to stop doing that shit.
Yeah, total. I mean, I 100%. I agree with you 100%. And yes, I would love if these people started listening to our podcast. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But it's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
I'm
We're
just saying,
working
pay
hard.
attention. Like,
That's
cause
what I'm saying. That's
we was
my
trying to help
thing.
y'all out. You know what I'm saying? And this is free advice. Okay, we didn't even charge y'all for this.
I swear. I mean, honestly, and that's what I think too. Like you said, like if not us, listen to other. like to an extent, obviously, but like listen to your fan base, man. That's what we are. We're your consumers, and we're telling you what we like. Just listen to us and take in how we feel about certain movies and how it's written and how it's portrayed on screen. Like all of these things matter.
Sure do. But with that being said, we are going to get the hell up out of here. We've been talking to y'all for long enough, and like I said, this is free. Okay, this is a free conversation on a free phone that we be paying for. Let me stop. But for real, all jokes aside, we hope y'all enjoyed this episode. But we got a couple more that we're gonna be recording and sending you guys way. So with that being said, make sure you share to everybody that's a horror movie fan, even if they're not. Corrupt them, make them a horror movie fan. Okay, we need that in our lives. So stay horror, stay awesome, stay creepy, and have a good night. With that being said, horror fans unite.
Two fingers.